Hey, Corey, we're live. And
Hello.
you're shifting in the world there.
Yep. Yeah. The camera, I keep moving the camera around to show people stuff in the room. So it's
Oh
all
yeah,
crooked, but there we go. That's a
that
little better.
happens to me too. What you can almost see I can't always point right here. See the tiny little.
Yep.
So that's the bottom of a Euro plate design that says WCEU 2024.
Nice.
That was it's a giant magnet that Google had made for the little Fiat that they had in their space. They had two
Okay.
made, not knowing which style license plate it would be, and so they gave me the one for my scooter that didn't fit the car, which I thought was super super kind of them, but doesn't
Yeah.
show up. Look at me, I'm like trying to see in the window, and I'm not. I might be a little tired. Wait, let me see if I can. There you go. See it up there?
Yes. Nice.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
The Euro style license plate.
Yeah.
That's really
And
cute.
it was fun because I got to drive my scooter on the rooftop of the Lingotto Center, which used to be the Fiat building. And so you're not allowed to drive around there anymore. It's just a walkway. But because I am motorized, I got to ride around the track, which is kind of cool. So, a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
So we haven't met in a while. I mean, you and I chat all the time, but we haven't met
Yes.
to do this in a while, between being sick, you being sick, me being sick, other people being sick, travel, vacations, all of that. So it's nice to be back. Hello.
Good to see your smiling face again.
Likewise. Always nice to see
Old
yours
friends
as well.
back together.
Yeah. We were supposed to see each other in person last weekend.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen.
But once again, the vid struck. Thankfully, neither of us personally, but
yeah,
hit our household. So I made the choice not to go, and I am. It of course it was a hard choice, but it
was the right choice.
It was the right choice, and I've even had people reach out and say, like, "Hey, did I miss you? I was looking forward to seeing you," which of course hurt even more a little bit. But they also, when I told them what was up, they said, well, thanked me for making the conscientious choice and whatnot. And I was like, okay, I mean, like I knew it was, but Yeah.
I have also had COVID, I don't know, 5 times since 2020. And every single one I live alone. So every single one of those times I can't be like, can you get me a glass of water? Because it's only me that here's that. I'm like, yes, I'll get myself a glass of water. Right. So, so it's good that you say they do not. So it's good that you were home with your wife, especially if she was feeling icky, that you could take care of the pups and help her along. So I think you made the right decision.
Exactly.
But just for the record, I did miss seeing you there.
Yeah, you too. And and I think the punchline that I sent you and everybody was, if I had by not going, I did not get sick.
True.
But had I gone, I had this vision of being pulled over somewhere in the Canadian prairies, curled up in the back seat, throwing up out the window, and my extended family said, well, you should have gone. We'd happily have come got you, mainly because they wanted an excuse to make the pretty drive themselves. But anyway,
it was a lovely drive on the way back. We drove up the day before, and Jeff, who you see in the background here, he travels with me a lot. We're co-working today, so he's working happily behind me. Every once in a while, he reaches up and strums one of the guitars and catches my attention. Reminds me of those old books that you used to read as a kid, that like the chime said turn the page. Yeah. I'm like, what?
When it's time to turn the page, Tinkerbell will do her wings or whatever it was.
Exactly. It's like bling. So anyway, but on the way up there, we had tornado warnings, and so we got a lot of not like those really scary phone announcements that even if your phone is silenced, goes find cover. And we're like, we're in a car. But and we did have tornadoes touch down just south of Buffalo. So
wow.
But not for us. But we did encounter a lot of bad rain and things on the way up. The drive home was absolutely lovely. Everything was beautiful. The sun was shining. It was a great day. But so even if you had been pulled over on the side of the road, I might not have seen you going past you because the rain was so crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
That-
it was the 90 seconds of other updates. Is like I've been struggling pretty much the whole first half of this year with just feeling really down, unmotivated,
yeah.
stuff like that. And the good news is in the last couple of weeks, like finally feel like I'm coming out of the funk, to be trite about it. But one of the things that I was looking forward to, honestly, was the drive. For me, it was 5 hours each way. And, you're alone with your thoughts kind of thing. So I honestly think I mean, it's no comparison to seeing friends, but I was a close second was definitely like, okay, I'm alone for 11 hours, just
Yeah.
thinking, especially I love driving in the rain.
Yeah.
Not white knuckled rain, but a
gentle rain.
no, but I think it would
Yeah.
have been that would have been, but honestly, like I made the best of it, and
Yeah.
it was a nice weekend for us, and a nice weekend for me, and did some good thinking and did some good work, and
I have to admit although I do love your company and I was looking forward to like a whiskey or a bourbon or something with you, I really missed the debut of the jacket.
yeah.
I was so excited to see the jacket up close in person, which we will do. We will celebrate the jacket at WordCamp US,
Yeah.
correct?
September. Yeah.
Yeah. So
If there doesn't seem to be any other camp near me manifesting this year, at least not that I've heard. I keep hoping that Boston will pop up, but I've stopped asking, and that's not any sort of criticism. Like organizing any sort of camp, especially in a big city, I do not envy anybody that kind of task. So, but obviously, I'm just hopeful because it's probably the closest. There used to be Montreal. That's 3 hours. There used to be Portland, Maine. That's 2.5 hours. But they've all gone away for the time being post-COVID. So,
and I've spoken at both of those and Boston. Pretty cool.
I spoke at Portland, I think.
I wonder if it was the same year. I'd have to go back and see what year it even was that I was there. I don't even recall. I think it was before I was working with Give. So it was a while ago.
Yep. And I have mixed memories. I swear I've met you a number of times. And maybe I did, right? But
could be, yeah.
As you were tweeting about and the snarky followers of yours responded with dad jokes, but
yeah.
I was a little proud of that one, by the way.
That was good. That was good.
But
and for anybody who doesn't know, I have this. I think we all do, right? It's like you see somebody, you don't remember meeting them, or you haven't met them, and you say, "Oh, it's nice to meet you." And I did that to Michelle Bluma up in Montreal, and he said, "Actually, we've met. It was at I can't remember WordCamp Toronto or something."
Right.
Blah blah. And I was so embarrassed by that I hadn't recalled meeting them. And now that I'm even like more people know who I am than I know who they are because I've never met them. Perhaps I'm always afraid now to say, "Oh, it's nice to meet you," and they say, "I met you in Asia last year," or "I met you in Europe," because I see literally thousands of people a year now in the WordPress community. And so my new thing, and I have trained myself to do this, is to say it's so good to see you, because it is true. Whether you're meeting them for the first time or not, I am happy to see them.
Exactly.
And then it removes any doubt whether or not I've met them before, because I'm not saying, "Oh, I don't remember you." Just, "Oh, it's so good to see you." So, and so I have changed my vocabulary, and I tweeted about that today. And your response was what?
Some terrible pun. I'll let other people go find it. But no, I think that's very understandable and smart. I would say you're a very nice person for feeling badly about that, because you are, forget the genderism, but the boy about town. And so I would hope that anybody meeting you would chuckle and say, "Well, actually, we've met these places."
Right.
And and you being you, upon being reminded, especially if there was a conversation had or something, you'd go, oh right, yes, oh I'm so sorry, it's so great to see you, but not feel bad about that, because you're a rock star and you see so many people, I mean, it's like I'm half joking, but it is a numbers thing. I mean, and we as adults have to all be okay with that kind of social awkwardness. It's only awkward if somebody doesn't have the wherewithal to be okay with,
Sure. No, that makes perfect sense. And to be fair, I'm not overly embarrassed by it, right? I
figure
I don't want anybody
to
feel I don't want anybody to feel unmemorable. But when you meet literally thousands of people, how do you remember every single person you've encountered and every selfie you've taken? And so I found a way to err on the side of caution and just say,
perfect.
It's so good. It's so good to see you. And that's what I do now.
I love that kind of thing. Like I did that for years. Like I still do it occasionally, but like, it's just fun to play with language, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I used to do that a lot with figuring out phrases to say, and like it's fun to have that many options.
Yeah, absolutely. So we didn't get to do our stickers. I was not a sticker girl over Canada.
Ooh.
I don't think I handed out. I had them in my basket and completely forgot I had them with me. So no stickers for any of my stickers collection were handed out to anybody. So I apologize for that, but I don't even know where we are on our sticker count. I swear though, you have a program or something. You've got something going in there, because every time I get ahead of you, like all of a sudden you catch up. So I don't know what's going on.
I can't possibly, because I haven't. Who have I given a sticker to?
I think people feel bad and they just go in there and click it.
Yeah, well, and that's true. They're probably testing it,
Probably.
Because obviously, like, this is for fun, and so we are not worried about accuracy.
No, not at all.
You're five ahead of me. I mean, and that means people have given me credit for 5, because I'm pretty sure we both stopped at 50, just so that we basically primed the pump. But we both stopped at 50, and that means people have been too kind and given me credit for 5 that I have not given them, and you 10 that you actually have.
There you go. That's okay.
So, but your prize is in the mail. So there will be a package arriving soon for you. I don't know when.
Is it more stickers?
No.
Oh, well, I'm excited. I'm intrigued. Do I know what this is, or is this a surprise?
You do not. It is a surprise.
Very cool.
Wow. So hopefully,
and of course we will have a beverage together in
at some point.
Portland.
I finally moved it downstairs. I actually bought a little bottle of Basil Hayden, just like the little pint or whatever. But that's a favorite one. Easy to travel, easy for most people to drink, and because I was like, am I going to really try to find a liquor store in Canada, and do I trust that they have a decent selection, or am I going to smuggle this across the border? So I decided to bootleg. Was that the original, like Prohibition era, but I'm smuggling it the wrong way kind of thing?
Smuggle it in, yeah. We didn't have any trouble at the border. We had every car it didn't seem to matter which car we pulled in behind, both directions. The car in front of us was detained for anywhere. I think it was like 10 to 15 minutes. The one was 10, one was 15. You can't really, when you're in the queue, you can't really get out easily, right? Especially not at the border. You don't want to look suspicious or whatever. So we just waited. We thought, oh God, we're going to be here forever. And they were like, so what are you coming to Canada for? Going to conference. What's the conference about? It's a tech conference, WordPress. How long are you going to be there? Going back on Sunday. Okay, have a nice weekend.
Yep.
Like
Peace
that
out.
was 40 seconds. And the way back in was just as pleasant. So it's like, I don't know what those other people were doing to get pulled over for so long, but that's all right.
Go ahead. Last time I went up for a concert, it was a DJ's playing at essentially the big central park in Montreal, and so going to Canada, the guy was like, yeah, like, rave on, my brother, kind of thing. But coming back, the American, the person for me going into America, though I swear he sounded more Canadian than the other way around. But he's like, why were you there for 24 hours? Which, okay, admittedly, that sounds questionable, but it's like, I went to this concert. Like, these are the artists I saw. Like, I obviously actually went. But he's like, that park is really, really known for drug use. And I'm like, okay. Like, if I was going to bring drugs back into the right. Well, and if I was going to bring drugs back into the US, would I go buy retail? I mean, come on, people. Like, I'd go to some neighborhood where I'd buy bulk. But I decided not to try to rationalize that with him.
No. Just the basics. Stick to the basics.
There you go.
I heard
the
people that over talk are the suspicious ones, right? Like, oh, and we just saw such and it's so beautiful there. Oh my gosh, blah blah blah. No, they don't care. Just
tell me where you're from.
Yeah, exactly.
So the 2 times before, my brother-in-law was living in Montreal and needed a new laptop and to have a MacBook and to have the MacBook shipped there was going to be an extra $500 in tariffs. And so me being 3 hours from Montreal, he said, can I pay for you to come to Montreal and stay in a hotel and bring me a MacBook? It'll all still be cheaper. And I said, free weekend in Montreal? Hell yeah. So
sure.
So I took it out of the packaging, stuck it in my backpack and drove it up. Right. But at the border, here's like the mistake that every criminal makes, is the guy at the border says, do you have anything to declare? No. I'm not going to admit it. Right. But he goes, what do you have with you? And the first thing out of my mouth, of course, is, well, I have my laptop, I have snacks, I have, but of course, the first thing out of my mouth is the thing that I'm trying not to think about because that's psychology.
Right.
But I mean, what do you have with you? Well, my laptop, and that everybody has it. He has no idea that it's not mine,
Right. Yeah.
So yeah. That was my
Oops, I didn't mean to say that. It's probably the wrong thing to say at that point.
Well, what's on your laptop? I don't know. I haven't turned it on yet. It's not for me. I'm really sorry. Here's $500.
Oh, well, let's get things over to OMG IMG because we could talk forever about Canada, which was a wonderful experience. Last time we talked, I was talking about the fact that I was having difficulty being able to save to create a new OpenGraph image if I had cloned a previous post. Sorry, I'm struggling for words today. You have corrected that. So now if you go to underrepresentedintech.com, all of the featured images that have the name of the article or the post across the center of them, those have all been created by OMG IMG and saved as the featured image. And I'm having no difficulty with that anymore. So I wanted to kind of close that loop on those things. And you have done something since we last talked about bulk. So could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. A little aside here. This is one of those funny. So ages ago, I posted a screenshot so in WordPress, I assume everybody listening to this is familiar with WordPress. Otherwise, thank you for listening anyway. I mean, we are hilarious, charming, beautiful people. So why wouldn't you? But, but in WordPress, on the left-hand side in the admin, it says, posts or even pages. And then you click on add new or all pages or all posts, or if you have custom post types, all bazingas, whatever, right? And so I posted a picture of that screen, which is a list of all of the posts. And I said, what do you call this screen? And it is one of my most replied to tweets ever, probably 50 replies with no, I was like, there's got to be a consensus. And there 100% wasn't. In fact, it was worse after the tweet. Like the universe was worse off because I asked this question.
I did not reply to that, but I have an answer for that. I call that the post dashboard and the pages dashboard and the media dashboard. What are you
Very
calling
reasonable.
it now? I would
Very
think
reasonable. The problem is that there is a dashboard, right? So to say to a client who doesn't think technically, like go to the dashboard, they'll go to the dashboard. They go to the post dashboard, they'll go to the dashboard and look for posts or something, maybe, right? And obviously, I'm not saying you're wrong, but that's what I kept running into is, so either, broadly speaking, either the edit, no, what was it? So I think WordPress behind what's also interesting is to see what a developer, how they will name their variables, as because that often becomes a name, or that they're going to stop and think to themselves, what is this? I want to name a variable something meaningful. So generally, in at least behind the scenes WordPress parlance, post list is what that table is, at least, which makes sense. It's the list of all the posts. So, but the post so either the post list page, awkward, posts list page, even more awkward,
right?
The all post page, the page, the post dashboard, again, weird, awkward, right? So, but an interesting experiment I found, because this is a thing we all look at most days as WordPress people, and there isn't a name for it.
Right.
So then, as that's a better example than me then going in and, okay, so what? So the big update was our far and away the most generated, or the most requested feature is generating images for multiple posts at once. So is that batch image generation? Is that bulk image generation? Is that multi-image generation? Is that, so I wound up renaming it like 3 times while coding it. And finally decided that as a developer, I would think of it, originally I'd called it generate, but I'm like, but you're generating other places. So that I went with batch, but I still find myself calling it bulk. Anyway, it's just one of those weird things,
So I used to do a talk called what was it called? The Hidden Features of WordPress Revealed. And this is so long ago that the slides are like more square as opposed to long like they are now, right? So this was probably 2015, 2016. And I was like, what did I call it? Because I talk about screen options on that page. And I called it this for screen options for the posts list. Not saying that's right, but that's what I was going with 8 years ago. So who knows?
Yeah, it's funny. But yeah, so all that to bury the lead. What has been introduced is a paginated version of multi-post image generation, multi-image post image generation. Anyway, you can make images for many posts at once. The first version that I got out the door, you can do 12, 24, 48, because I wanted to test how I was doing it. I wound up introducing, for the nerds in the back, I wound up introducing background processing. Thank you, Delicious Brains, for normalizing a library that is very easy to implement. And I've now actually gone I'm going to go and add that to basically everywhere an image is generated and saved. It's now going to happen in the background, so it'll take even less CPU processing, less likely to slow down, your admin. But also, like, while we're introducing a feature like that, I want people to at least have the option, and they always will, but I kind of wanted to force people to take the option of, like, you choose a template, you choose your posts, you make sure that all of them look good, and then hit save. Because my fear is it will happen down the road. I'm going to introduce essentially a progress bar version. Like if you've ever, imported or exported dozens of or thousands of things, you just have a big progress bar that you watch go across the screen.
Oh, yeah.
And so
So
at
you have
some
some
point
idea of progress is important. Yeah.
Right. But there's going to be a version where you're not previewing each one. And that's fine, except that, like, so, you know, for the magazine that my clients run, we have 12,000 posts. Like, I would beg and plead nobody to ever run this thing. Not that it couldn't technically do it, but how many bad images are you going to end up with? Because somewhere in there's a title that is 200 characters long that will break the template that they've chosen to use.
Right.
And a couple of bad images is fine, but like that will fill up your hard drive space. That will, you know, dot. So
and how
I
far
want to
back does
baby
somebody
step
need
into
to
it.
go, right? So if you have a blog that's been running for 12 years, maybe a year is all you really need to go back to do this
Right.
in bulk, right? So, and batching it. So that makes sense.
Although I just thought of another feature, so I'm going to add that to the list. If a post, how about a what would you call it? A flag. If an old post has a request for an open graph image and doesn't have one. So if you like generated for the last year and then basically were able to, I don't know if this is technically possible, but if you were able to say, okay, if an old page is requested, like if an old page becomes popular again, ping me so that I know that it doesn't have a dedicated open graph image and I can quick go generate one, or even generate one automatically, which takes me to the sort of the bigger talking point here is, in the month or more since we've talked, like my thinking about it's been okay that, to me now, it's been okay that we've taken our foot off the marketing gas pedal, so to speak.
Right. Yeah.
Like high level, in theory, since we're building a company, like we should be priming the pump. I'm full of metaphors today, but you know, always trickling out content.
Right.
Google likes it. General SEO best practices like it. It gives people, anybody who does come to the site, it gives them an excuse to come back or keep, you know, we want our name to keep popping up in front of people. And so I've been, as I've become reinvested more in the last couple of weeks, I've been trying to tweet more. I'm trying to essentially engage more with the world as OMG, as you do. I had a really funny meta moment the other day where I, as OMG, interacted with you as Stellar WP. And I realized that we were like
it was you and me
to each other. Yeah. And then we both went under Michelle and Corey and liked those tweets because that's what you do.
Yeah. That's what you do. Which
but
reminds me, like,
is...
have I ever mentioned, like, I run lots of Twitter accounts between Stellar, between my side projects, other projects that I'm involved in, people I help with. So my advice is always, no matter whether you're logged in on desktop or your phone, always reset to your personal account. Always. Because I know people have lost their jobs by saying things they shouldn't have said as a company they were hired for. So always reset yourself. Just that's a little word of the wise in between there.
And check and double check and triple check and hesitate before you hit tweet, and somehow build that muscle, build that habit to check and check and check.
If it's your own company, that's one thing, you can maybe recover from it. But if you're
100%.
I mean, if I'm tweeting for Stellar and I comment as Michelle and I use a word or something I shouldn't have, not a good idea.
And I mean, I think, like, you are a consummate professional and conscientious thinker, and so it would be pretty hard. You totally could create a faux pas by saying, you know, I don't know, I you know, my purple hair or whatever as Stellar WP, but one would hope nobody would be offended by that kind of thing.
Right.
But I hear, like, but you're right, like it's not professional.
Correct.
And I have the advantage of at least in this instance, owning the company. But like the other thing that I've mentioned to a number of people, specifically younger than us, is for me, the internet was never not, and this is me individually as well as an age thing, but like the internet was always a business thing. Like from the moment, the first website I ever created was to promote myself as a musician. And so I certainly put myself out there, but I was never, I was always aware that I didn't want to put a picture online or say something online that would not get me a gig or would have people not like me on a personal level, even if they like my music or something. So, and not that my record is spotless, but that's in the back of my head or back of my mind. Whereas I think a lot of people who have truly grown up with it, they don't think about, they don't have that kind of filter, you know?
Right. Plus, I always, even on my own account, silly is okay, inflammatory is not, right? Like, I try not to be inflammatory. I will skirt it sometimes, I will admit. I got called a pile of poo this morning by somebody just for saying I will not use Sticker Mule anymore because of their political statements.
I was wondering if you were going to bring that up. I've been wanting to bring that up.
They not only did they post on their own Twitter account, the co-founder, they emailed it and made a part of the email also said, use this coupon to show your support for Trump. And I was like,
oh my God,
my goodness.
So you are dead to me.
There is no way to delete your account with them. So I had to go in. I changed my account from Michelle Frechette to no longer a customer. There's all these little burner accounts you can make, like, 15-minute email addresses. Change the email address to that. And then, long enough so that I could confirm it. Remove my credit card information that I don't remember storing in there, but must have, and removed my phone number and all of the things, my address, all of those things, just deleted them. And then now they just have an account with a weird email address that no longer works. No longer a customer. Because that is not the way. That would be like me logging in as Stellar and then saying, I think you should vote this way. This is the way I think everybody's doing it. Don't be a piece of what and blah, 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 right? I'm never going to do that. So I just made a comment that I'm not going to patronize them anymore. It wasn't actually inflammatory, but there must be people searching for that term. Well, they're not people that follow me and they're not people I follow. So clearly there are people that are searching the term because I didn't even tag Sticker Mule in my post, right? So they were looking to be inflammatory. Both of them, I went to their accounts, very right-wing, very super Christian, whatever you want to call it. And so the one person said, oh, yeah, so you're going to cancel the person that says that they believe on both sides, blah, blah, blah. And I just responded, I said, this was not a message of peace. Because the message of peace, this was not a message of peace. It was a cloak of peace over the rest of it. And then the other person just called me a pile of poo. And so I was just like, it's been a while since I've been called that to my face.
I know, right? 8th grade or so.
Yeah, at least, right? So, yeah. So anyway, I did respond to those. Charming. But I would never do that under any brand that I represented.
Right, exactly. That is good example.
That is me, right? That is me taking a stand for my beliefs. And even then, not really politicizing it, just saying, I'm not going to put money in somebody's pocket who turns their business into politics.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so,
certainly not politics certainly politics that you personally don't agree with, I assume.
Exactly. So. But even if it was politics I agreed with, I don't think it's the right. I would probably still unfollow and unsubscribe because I don't want my money going into political things like that. Right. I choose where I give my money to, right? And so I don't have I could choose to go elsewhere. But yeah, so it's like even with underrepresented in tech, which I was talking about earlier because my cat, I was like, get down. She's gonna make me crazy. You completely derailed me. Stupid cat. Anyway, it's one of those things where I needed to say something out loud and be part of that conversation without being inflammatory.
Yep.
But I also get silly, right? So like the silly post was a screenshot of the guy calling me a pile of poo and then being able to be like, actually, I'm okay with people like that thinking that of me because they don't matter, right? To me, they don't matter. Right. So anyway, be silly if you want. I will often post just silly polls and little ideas and thoughts and whatever crosses my mind, like the idea of not saying nice to meet you, but good to see you, that kind of thing. Post those little nuggets of wisdom. But but I keep that to my personal and obviously not in my. But I get silly with my other brands too sometimes.
Right.
I think I've done a couple silly
if it's
posts
on
for
brand.
OMG. Exactly.
100%. As well you should.
Exactly.
And but I think like you have a strong the muscle is strong, the filter is strong, where you're like, you're without having to think about it much, you're like, is this likely to offend anybody? Could I say this a different way? Is this the best way to say it? Not only is it the funniest and the most effective and the most internet-y, or the most memey, or the most, all these things, but also is this on brand? Is this, am I going to wake up late? Like I've had a couple of tweets in the last year that I actually posted and then actually deleted, because I as hard as I thought about it before I hit send, afterwards I actually realized that I like misinterpreted the original post or things like that.
Gotcha.
And then also, like, again, one of them was me as a musician responding to somebody in England talking about American politics, and my comment was really nothing more than, everybody's welcome to their opinion, but I don't feel that your observation is accurate as an American. And then I was like, I'm here as a musician. Like, why am I even, and in this case, a non-political, like, why am I getting into it with this person? Not even, why am I even engaging with this tweet? It just doesn't matter. I'm not going to change people's minds. I'm not going to ... Anyway.
Well, let me give you another tool. I'm going to put a tool up on the screen. This is a website that I use every single day. First of all, funny. LinkedIn and Facebook and other platforms, they have a character count, the limit, but it's well into the thousands, right? 1,000 or more. And I think even Mastodon has like just this huge character limit. But Twitter X only allows 280 characters unless you have paid to verify, etc. So I use this wordcounter.net/character-count if you're listening and not watching. I go to that site and I put all my tweets in there so that I can craft them off of the actual platform or scheduling tool. Make sure it looks good, reread it there, catch my mistakes there, and then copy paste back into either the platform again or the scheduling tool that I use. So this is just a really good way to have those checks and balances that you just talked about. And also make sure that you're not like trying to figure out later, like, where can I delete 5 more characters to fit on Twitter, kind of thing. So this is just a nice little, I'll probably post this on Twitter again today, or not again. I've never posted it. Probably post it on Twitter today so that people can see how they can figure things out and craft those messages without doing it in the moment, whether it's on the phone or on the desktop. Right. So that's a nice little tool that we can share there for you.
And I've got Grammarly installed, and so it immediately starts checking my grammar as I'm typing too. So I've got that that added advantage. This makes me chuckle though, because we have our social preview tool, social tester tool, which anybody can find in the footer of, if you go to omgimg.co. We have a couple of tools. One of them is so that you plug in a URL and you see what it's going to look like on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn before it goes, not Instagram, excuse me. But I'm a developer more than I'm a writer these days. And so I'm always looking for micro tools, web utilities, whatever you want to call them, niche tools. And especially for undervalued keywords, or cheap to, like, there's tools that will find you a keyword that is searched for but doesn't have a lot of competition. And word counter and character counter was one that I came across recently. So it's funny that you send that, which is weird to me, because there's got to be 1,000,001 of those types of counters. I won't build us one. Yeah, totally. And I won't build us one because it's not relevant to images, but I keep looking for some similar things that have any sort of relevance to images, just to kind of build out the tools that we could have on the website that will help people,
Yeah.
represent themselves better online.
So I'm showing you this because I'm not seeing it in the footer anymore. Did it?
Tools. Yeah. Second row, third item, tools.
Oh, tools. Okay. Ah, there it is. Okay.
Yeah. We had to bury it a little, but maybe we floated or.
That's okay. So you can Open Graph test it, put your URL in there. Like, let's see if I put WP Wonder Woman, which we are listed as a sponsor for. It'll tell you it's a missing in the footer, missing Twitter card. But there it is. We have the image, and that's what it shows up like. And the same thing for Facebook, and the same thing for LinkedIn. So you can see what your image is going to look like, and it looks nice. It looks good. And then we have the other tools are Remind Me.
One that nobody knows. I've never totally. Yeah, Crop Express actually gets a good amount of traffic. Lets you not only crop images online, but you can save this as this configuration as a preset, and then send somebody specifically, like if you work with clients, you can send the URL to a client, or you can bookmark it, obviously. But so the next time you come back, it will only let you crop as a square, and you can also set up one that's 16:9, and so then you can only crop a 16:9, and it'll guarantee a certain, like the size on the right, 1000 by 1000. You can set that to other ones, or custom, like podcast images have to be 3000 by 3000. So you can essentially set that as a preset, and then you will always be guaranteed a 3000 by 3000. And then the other tool that nobody knows about, that I actually built at WordCamp US last year in a day, is opengraph.online, which will become relevant at some point. To my knowledge, nobody is archiving Open Graph data.
Yeah, right.
And so you can't go back in time to see, like I just opened it up, and the top one is Fox News, New York Post, ESPN, Walmart. If they, what did their Open Graph look like a year ago? What did their Open Graph look like now? And so I'm just storing it over time. And so I think it'll become an interesting, at some point, if to some people, Open Graph is an interesting conversation anyway, but at any point, if Open Graph becomes a talking point, like this will historically show how big brands in particular handled
cool.
Open Graph data.
You get their information. Look at that. So TeamView has a lot more information in here than
you're still showing the tools, not that new tab.
Share this tab. Sorry, thank you. I forget that. I didn't realize it opened in a new tool. Okay, so I'm on TeamView right now, and you can see TeamView or Temu or however you pronounce it and it has all their Open Graph data. Previous ones, you can toggle them open. This is very cool.
Isn't that neat?
If I go back, yeah, it's very cool. I love it. Hulu. You can get an idea of what they look like. Yeah. The first one I looked at, though, didn't have any other thing. Which one was it? Oh, I looked at Yelp. And I think Yelp had not changed in quite a while. Look at this. So Yelp doesn't have anything.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. They have an image, but
yeah.
Yeah, and my recollection is I only store it if it changes.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then
I also if you go to Amazon, for example.
Okay. Yep. Hold on. That was towards the top.
I think so. I just saw it on the left column there.
Yep.
I also flag them if they're missing things.
Oh yeah.
So we can actually like flag. So because at one point I think Corey and I talked about like also reaching out to various brands, or because at some point when the tool is a bit more, when OMG is more mature, you can use, there's a website, there's a few different tools that are like what uses what kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so we can essentially find all the websites that use Yoast. We can find them the ones that use Yoast but don't have correct Open Graph images, and then we can send them a nice email that says, by the way, I
Yeah.
think you should buy our plugin.
The Washington Post has something to be desired. There's nothing there.
Oops.
Before I stop sharing my screen, I do want to switch over and just show you, if anybody's listening. So this is what I was talking about with underrepresented in tech. So this is the one from last week. I've already generated one for this week, but it doesn't publish till like Thursday night, Friday. So we've got this one, digital divide, and then this is where I was having difficulties. And this one, the image, the words went right across the bear's face, so I just decided not to do it. But here's the first one I did. It's how language supports community. So
Love it.
I think that was the very first one, and I was just like, "Help me! I don't understand how to do any of this." You walked me through it quite kindly. So that's awesome.
So going back to bulk batch multi image generation, where I'm at now is because I received feedback from a few people who very kindly have said, like, the tool's great. It saves me time, which is obviously the point, time and effort, but far and away what everybody requested and then has continued to emphasize is what they care more about is essentially one click or no click generating of images. Image generation on publish, or or just before publish, but one click. And it's funny, I realized, typical developer, I was so fascinated by the tech that let me essentially build a template that generated an image, and nobody cares. Like, I expected everybody to come. I said, let me, in the image builder and in the image template builder, which is the same thing, there's, you can make it bold, you can change the font, yada yada. There is there is maybe 4% of all of the options that are possible. And I was like, okay, so but it's usable. But so let me wait for people to come back and say, like, I really need, borders. I really need, gradients. I really need whatever. And then I'll add them as people request them. But I focused so much on that, and it's important, but most people have gone in, set pretty much the default template, tweaked it slightly to make sure it's on brand, and then off they go. And they never, and if it doesn't have options, there's certain options, they live with it, and off they go. And so it's one of those, like, I've spent so much time on that, and I'm not saying nobody cares, but nobody cares, right? Or certainly nobody cares after a while.
Right.
And I think I just had to wrap my head around, like, it's it's a re-emphasis of the tool. So I'm replacing, like, there's a bunch of places where, like right now, for each, on that post list page, there's a button that takes you to the bulk batch multi image generator. But next to each post, if there doesn't have an Open Graph image, there's a button. And right now that button opens up the image builder. Whereas all anybody cares about is the same window that opens when you're in the editor that lets you pick a template that you've already built, generate an image, save it however you're going to use it, and be done already.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of the small pivot of where I'm taking the product, which, based on that emphasis, changes a bunch of screens. And so I'm working on changing all of those screens, and changing the onboarding to say, like, what you need is a template. Let's build your first template. And now you can auto-generate all the images you need anywhere.
I love that.
And then
that's the hardest part when you use new software, is Like, I mean, I've been working with you and I was still like, please show me, like, soup to nuts, how do I do this? Because it wasn't intuitive to me. And so
Right.
having that onboarding that walks you through that is really important.
And it's not that it's not intuitive to me, but it's not user friendly. Like I'm tolerant, but I've trained myself over 20 years of building product to, there's always a separate objective little voice going, okay,
Sure.
so later you really need to clean that up because that's awful. And so I'm pretty well aware of the shortcomings of the product, which is fine. Like it's still a new, it's still a technically only 6 months old. But I feel like I have better focus on what actually needs to happen, what people want, how it needs to work, which helps me redefine a bunch of these screens. And then ultimately it will help us, I think, redesign. Like we talked a couple of months ago, like somebody nicely redesigned our homepage and then very nicely has said, why haven't you implemented the homepage that I designed you? And I'm like, well, this year, and I have to think in terms of months and at this point, but this year we will use that new design. But I think most of the wording is going to change because again, fewer people are interested in the razzle dazzle of the page builder than I thought, and more, I think, care more about, just here are the images you need, full stop.
Yep.
And we build a few more nice. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we have to talk about one more thing before we finish up. We have 7 minutes left, so finish up this thought so we can move on to the last one.
Bananas are awesome. There, the thought
I
is
love
done.
that.
Go ahead.
That's good. Okay, I want to talk about the fact that you are presenting at an online conference. Yes. So you can see Corey Friday at Stellar Sparks event. You're doing a talk called Picturing Success, Maximizing Image Engagement in WordPress. And so anybody that's interested in that should go to stellarwp.com/stellar-spark. So tell us a little bit about what you're going to be talking about Friday.
It has been a nice coincidence that digging deep into a product about images, I have learned an unbelievable amount about images and thought an unbelievable amount about images online. Things that I think I and most publishers, internet people take for granted. So going deeply into, quickly but deeply into essentially what makes a good image online, how to choose an image, how to enhance the image, and optimize the image, essentially whatever you're going to use an image for, blog posts or product pictures or things like that. So come and learn how to make your images work the hardest for you.
So stellarwp.com/stellar-spark to register. It is a free online event. Corey, you go on at
3 p.m.
Eastern. So wherever you are in the world, if you want to see it live, it'll be 3 p.m. Eastern. And should you not be able to attend, please still register because we will then send out the recorded videos in the week following. Once I get time to dice them all up, turn them into their individual packages, and then put them on the Stellar blog. So we will be able to share those out with you too. So make sure you go ahead and sign up for that. It is, again, a free event. And we will have also a Zoom room open all day for our hallway track. So if you'd like to talk to other attendees, and hopefully Corey will hang out for a little while either before or after his talk to answer questions there as well.
Yeah.
And I'm not going
to be in there literally all day.
I know, right? And how do I know all this information? Because I am the organizer. So I will be in the green room. I will be on screen as an MC for one of the tracks all day and interacting with folks. So I'm looking forward to that. So
yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm a little nervous for the talk. I'm still honing it. But it's one of those, like, I gave it the beginning of it, or the first version of it, the raw version of it for Rochester's meetup. Presenting it here, and then I'll be presenting it again in a month in Keene. And it's one of those where it continues to evolve, and so I'm fun to be working on that.
Of course, the question on everybody's mind is, Will you be wearing the jacket Friday?
Should I?
Yeah, of course.
All right. All right.
I need to get a hat, an IMG hat that I can wear. So maybe like a bucket hat where it's printed on the brim and I flip it up like Blossom from the 90s. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
That's the best reference I've heard all day.
That's right. It was the 90s, wasn't it? Was it 80s? I don't even know.
80s. Blossom
80s.
was 80s.
Okay,
Yeah.
Blossom was 80s. So excellent. Well, everybody, we're going to wrap it up here, I think. We'll look forward to seeing you, Corey, at Stellar Spark on Friday, and hopefully a bunch of other people too, to learn all about maximizing image engagement in WordPress, which I'll tell you, the improvements you've made just since you and I have been working on this product or marketing this product. Clearly, I don't work on the product, but that you've made just since January, February, whenever it was we started this, have made it so much easier for me to use. And I think that if even I can use it, everybody else should be able to too. So, job well done.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. So we'll see people on Friday, hopefully. And if not, we'll see you definitely next Tuesday. This is our new time, 4 p.m. Eastern. And looking forward to seeing everybody. All right.
Awesome.
Take care. We'll see everybody later.
Thank you. Bye.